Previously on Raquel's story.
Dear God, it's sorcery. Tell me now, how did you get that birthmark? How did you get that birthmark on your back? It's sorcery. How did you worm your way into this house? How did you get to John? How? Leave my family alone. Get out. Get out of my house now. Now.
Welcome back, everyone. This is part 4 of Raquel's story. A very serious situation has unraveled in the Lemon household, one that complicates everything in the worst possible way. Gregory staggered out of Raquel's bedroom after seeing the birthmark on her back. His heart within him exploded. The pain was severe as he staggered through the dark hallway. It was a large mansion, and he tried to get away from her as far as he possibly could. Not only was his heart exploding, his head was spinning, with all kinds of thoughts racing through his mind. He was experiencing a catastrophic phenomenon, karma, in its worst possible presentation. When Gregory initially stared, pondering in the CCTV footage of Raquel throwing the baby buggy into the pool, it was because it reminded him of something that happened long ago. Gregory used to sail around on yachts when he was much younger. He enjoyed the blue seas and the blue skies. He knew the waters quite well, and every time he was on holiday, he came back to the blue seas with a girl or two. One particular summer, he was with Esmeralda, the beautiful French lass, who he had been with a few times. She became his regular, his favorite. One day, she had told him she was pregnant. Gregory appeared to be happy, but he was not. His heart continued to explode as the thoughts kept swirling. He was angry and scared. A child with Esmeralda would rob him of a fortune, which required that he stay married to the heiress Philippa, with whom he'd already had a son. A pregnant Esmeralda was now a huge inconvenience. He never loved Philippa, but he loved her money and was prepared to do everything to hold on to 6 generations of fortune. One afternoon he sailed far out, and while Esmeralda went diving, he sailed away, abandoning her in deep waters. Esmeralda was left at sea. It is unclear how she was recovered or how she made it back to shore. However, Gregory was certain that he had effectively gotten rid of the problem without leaving any mess behind. Surely Esmeralda had become fish food. He sailed away and he never looked back. 6 years later, he received a letter that said,
Gregory, if you are reading this letter, it means I am no more. No, I did not drown. A little over an hour after you left me for dead, a kind sailor saw me in the waters and rescued me. I had your baby girl. She's very beautiful. She's being raised by my mother. Goodbye.
Gregory angrily ripped the letter, but he wanted to see the child, even though he was not going to make any claim to her. It was unbelievable that Esmeralda did not drown. Seeing this child would be the only proof. With a bit of help and ample resources, the child and grandmother were located. So Gregory made a solo trip to see with his own eyes the child he had supposedly created. When Gregory arrived at the old woman's house, she kindly invited him in. He lied to her, saying that the independent contractors were looking to renovate all the rundown homes in the area, but he would first need to take a look around to see what properties required the most work. This would allow him to take a few more steps into the house and take a good look around. The old woman bought his lies hook, line, and sinker. Gregory continued to look around, and there she was, this beautiful 5-year-old with large blue eyes looking up at him. She had on a patterned, dirty spaghetti strap dress, and when she turned to walk away, her back revealed a large birthmark And as Gregory continued to spew out more lies about construction work, he continued to take glimpses of the birthmark on the young child's back.
Combien de temps faudrait-il aux entrepreneurs pour commencer à travailler?
Ne vous inquiétez pas, nous n'avons toujours pas décidé.
After deceiving the poor old woman, Gregory proceeded to pat the child on the head as if to say goodbye, and he had a close look at the birthmark. At the same time, he pulled a single strand of hair from the child's head and left. With the strand of hair, he organized a paternity test. After all, Esmeralda was nothing but a yacht girl, and surely he believed she would have had many other men in her life. Gregory was wrong. He was the dad, and he was determined to make this complication go away. It only took a couple of phone calls for Gregory to organize the permanent disappearance of the innocent child. However, the men involved discovered the grandmother had passed away and the child was now in an orphanage. They convinced Gregory that the child was dead, and they split the cash and went different ways. The thought of having viciously raped his own daughter gave Gregory a massive heart attack.
Clearly had more fun than I did last night, you drunken old fool. Gregory, stop it. It's no longer funny.
It wasn't funny. Gregory had been dead for hours. Raquel had remained seated in her room, terrified, and stayed awake until daytime broke. She was so scared, staring at the door the entire time, thinking Mr. Lemon was going to come right back through it. She had no idea he had collapsed and died in the foyer of a massive heart attack. It was morning and she felt safe to make a move. She took one step and realized the iPad with the incriminating evidence of the drowning was on the floor. She instinctively dropped to the floor, grabbed the iPad, and stuffed it into her purse as she began to pack in order to get out of the house. John, who had missed dinner with his family at their waterside estate previous night, kept his promise to make his way down in the morning to pick up Raquel and take her home. He had no idea his father was dead, lying in the foyer where his mother Philippa left him. She went to take a shower, put on makeup, and was ready just in time to answer the door.
Good morning, son. I think you'd better come in. There has been a bit of an emergency. As you know, your father has a very bad heart. Unfortunately, I think he might have suffered a heart attack. I have called the coroner. They're on their way.
Oh my God, Mother. How cold can you be? You stand there discussing this as though you're planning a luxury cruise.
Save it, John. There's no time to be sentimental. Eventually we all die.
The exchange between John and his mother carried on, and they didn't realize when Raquel had walked through.
I'm sorry for both of your losses, but I simply cannot be here.
Babe, my father just passed. Stick around, please.
Goodbye.
John, she has to go. I need to carry on with my beauty regimen. You need to be here when the coroner comes.
I knew you and father were having problems, but I didn't realize you hated him that much.
Oh, don't be silly.
Too much was happening too fast, and quite frankly, Raquel had a plethora of issues to deal with. Her dissociative amnesia, her traumatic past, the drowning of Jennifer's baby, the brutal rape by her father-in-law just hours ago, and now a death. It was all too much, and she needed to get away. She got back to the house and immediately packed every single piece of clothing she owned and stuffed them all into her suitcase. She could not see herself married to John, not after everything that just happened with his father. It was too much for her to carry in the same space as her husband. She was afraid to go to the police because she'd be pressing charges against the dead man, and it would be such a dreadful media spread for the family. In addition, no one would believe her. However, she headed to the hospital to get checked out after the rape. She had not taken a bath since the incident, and this was necessary for the test to take place. Every injury and every specimen would still be where it needed to be as evidence of her ordeal. She required stitches, and the entire process was awful and sad. How much more could this young woman take? This is one secret she would have to take to the grave. A lot of evidence was acquired, hair specimens, bodily fluids, all kept on file as proof of her visit to the hospital as a rape victim. Eventually it was all over, and as she finished putting on her jacket, the doctor came up to her, handing her a copy of her treatment. He suggested she go to the police and press charges. She declined. Her next stop in the hospital was to go in and check on Jennifer. As she walked up, she could tell that Jennifer was a bit riled up. She had overheard in conversation with the nurses that there was some sort of court case relating to the drowning of her child, in which Raquel claimed she did not remember. This upset Jennifer a lot, as she really wanted to know what happened to her child.
Who told you about that?
You're the only one who knows what happened, and you won't tell them?
Honestly, Jennifer, I can't remember anything.
I see you're trying to get back at me for not coming to the wedding, even though I explained already.
Explain what? That you couldn't come to my wedding because you couldn't fit into any of the pretty clothes?
Wow, that's so mean. I told you the night before your wedding that I realized that John was an ex. It wasn't proper for me to come to the wedding.
You and John, you dated, really?
I'm really sorry, but you're upsetting the patient. You're going to have to leave.
Yes, I'd like for her to leave.
I'll go.
Yes, go. You're such a hateful and vengeful human being.
Raquel was hurt and confused. She got in the car and headed straight to her apartment. She still had 11 months left on the lease. Raquel did not remember the details of the argument she had with Jennifer the night before her wedding. Jennifer told her that John was a brief fling and would not attend. She was traumatized by Jennifer's admission, and by morning, the memory of that detail was gone. Meanwhile, the proper authorities had arrived at the Lemons Waterside estate to remove Mr. Lemon's corpse from the center of the foyer. Of course, Mrs. Lemons was relieved to finally see him go. She was scorned by him for many years, and all the while she knew it. John, however, was heartbroken, and as soon as the body was taken away, he got in the car and drove home to meet his wife, Raquel. When he arrived, he was shocked to find the house empty and a note addressed to him.
John, so much has happened in these last few days. I'm really sorry, but I need to commence treatment at the Special Minds facility as ordered by the judge. I have to do this alone. Please respect that. I also know about you and Jennifer, and I'm really hurt. Take care now. Goodbye.
John needed to get back in control and immediately got on the phone to Raquel. In the moment, he couldn't think where she could have gone. And when he couldn't get a hold of her, he went straight to the hospital to confront Jennifer. John just lost his dad, and he'd just read a goodbye note from his wife. Suddenly, Jennifer was the root of his problems.
You couldn't keep your mouth shut. You
I...
had to blab.
Leave. Just leave. Nurse. Is there a nurse? I need a nurse in here.
Excuse me, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You can't talk to the patients in the ward like this. It's unacceptable. Could you please leave?
Four months later, and Raquel had been consistently putting in the work at the Special Minds facility, as ordered by the judge. She had been going through a course of treatments and exercises to help her unlock and remember her past trauma, and also she was being given the tools to deal with them in order to move forward and lead a healthy life free of harm to herself and to others. She began remembering a lot of the trauma that she had experienced throughout her childhood and up to date. It was a lot to take in, but it was important for her not to engage with her husband or Jennifer during this very critical time of healing and recovery. During this time, the Lemons had gone through all the processes necessary running up to the funeral of Mr. Lemons. Mrs. Lemons played the part of a grieving widow, even though she was glad he was gone. But for the sake of onlookers, she had to keep up the grieving widow appearances. Raquel did not attend.
Finally, the lying, cheating scoundrel is gone. I'm so cold. I really could use a good cup of tea.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. The morning of Christmas Eve was an unusual one for everyone in the group. Raquel spent her time alone texting a friend at work. On the other side of town, John was determined to spend Christmas alone. He did not want to socialize because of not having an explanation for why his wife, whom he showed off most of the time, was not around. He also did not want to spend Christmas with his mother, considering the new developments in her behavior after his dad's death. He did not understand her, and he was also in mourning. However, he was really missing his wife, and he made a decision to go and see her that Christmas Eve.
John, I understand how difficult this would be for you. It's also hard for me, but so much is going on and I really need to work on myself.
So a man can't see his wife on Christmas Eve or spend Christmas with her.
I don't know how to say this, John, but you can't afford to get emotional, and quite frankly, I'm really upset and poorly too. And I really need for you to leave. Please don't make this difficult. I'm trying really hard, but things are worse than you think. You'll have to give me a chance to work this out.
As you wish, Raquel. Merry Christmas.
Raquel finished texting her colleague and walked into the bathroom, where she received an early Christmas present. This was very unexpected, but it has happened before that a barren woman becomes pregnant. In the same week, Raquel was intimate with her husband. She also got raped by her husband's father. This child could be anybody's. Based on the dates, Raquel is at least 4 months pregnant. Perhaps Santa delivered the wrong present. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Merry Christmas.